Yashomati Nandana Brajabalanaya
Yashomati Nandana Brajabalanaya
Yashomati Nandana Brajabalanaya
Yashomati Nandana Brajabalanaya
Okularanjana
Om Ranjana Kana
Okularanjana
Om Ranjana Kana Gopi Parana Madana Gopi Parana Madana
Krishna Nam Sankirtan. Few, the happy few, we band brothers and sisters out there. The sincere devotees out there. So we should hope that Krishna will inspire something absolutely amazing. Make us feel special. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurim Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Bhangam Langayate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhobhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. But we're still in the 11th chapter of the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Uddhava Gita, still fairly early in the Uddhava Gita, and Krishna is discussing what?
The qualifications of the disciple.
Qualification of guru.
Well, at least yours had a period on the end. Or you want to make a wild guess? You use the WAG system. This is
We were talking about
the WAG system. The WAG system, for those who don't know, and that's probably just about everybody, it's a very important part of analyzing military intelligence. It's one of the first things they taught us, and it's something that you use when everything else fails, the WAG system. It's wild-ass guess. So go for it.
Remember in last class talking about how you could tell who's conditioned, who's not conditioned. Is that what Buddha was asking?
Okay, so you're remembering.
Yeah.
Well, that's different from guessing. That's less fun. Yeah, Krishna, he's described fairly succinctly, but a little rather systematically, some of the symptoms of a liberated soul. And so now we're going to get a little contrast. What are some of the symptoms that you remember of a liberated soul?
They have control over their anger and lust.
Oh, okay. Was that a period?
Period.
Okay.
There's more. It's a dot.
And what are those more? The others seem to be, got this dead silence here. The thousands of viewers.
They can control their senses.
Okay. Sounds to me like you've been coming to the Upadeshamrita classes as well. Okay. So, and how can they control their senses? What makes it easy for a liberated soul to control his or her senses?
The liberated soul doesn't see themselves as a body-mind complex. They see themselves as the part and parcel of Krishna. They see themselves as Krishna's servant and as a spirit. So it's less complicated.
And how do they see everything else?
So
It's part of Krishna's energy.
They just see Krishna's energies. So how do they discriminate what's good and what's bad?
It's neither good or bad.
Pardon?
It's neither good or bad. It's just the duality.
They don't. They don't see that. They don't see good and bad.
Isn't it just
So
like
white hats and black hats, cowboys and Indians, Americans and Ruskies, that doesn't impress them?
No.
Why not?
Because they're liberated.
It's like the sun doesn't see night or day. It doesn't matter.
I beg your pardon? Can you say that more loudly? That's a brilliant analogy. We should, when we go back and interpolate when we edit the Bhagavatam the next time, we should put that one in. Can you say that again, Maya, for the people out in inner wetland?
There's no night or day because the sun only sees the sun.
Yeah. So, yeah, the analogy that I've shared from Lord Brahma is that good and bad, all these things, they don't have, and we see this in the second chapter of the Gita as well, right? Krishna tells Arjuna, what does this mean? Good and bad, like night and day, summer and winter. They come, they go. Doesn't mean anything. It's all ephemera. You put it on fast forward, you take one of those time-lapse things like we used to see on Disney and on Sunday nights back in the 50s. And you'd see the flower, the tulip breaking the ground after the ground is thawed, and then the plant comes up from the bulb, and and then it grows and grows, and then leaves come out, and then the flower opens, and you're watching all that stuff happen. Something that happens over a period of week or two. we're watching it in between commercial. Well, actually, we're not just watching that; we're watching it over and over again. So many flowers, and seasons passing, and things like that. Here today, gone tomorrow. Here today, gone tonight. Some things don't even make it. It's like the news doesn't even make it to tomorrow. Especially nowadays, they recycle it so many times every day. You figure you're about to gag if you hear, So what? So this morning, they took the Confederate flag down from whatever that monument is on the grounds of the state capitol in Charleston. And it probably ran, if you watch news on television, you probably saw it about 30 times today. Something about them going out at 10 o'clock and taking that Confederate flag down. But most people probably feel that if they have to see it one more time, they'll probably just gag or they'll throw something at their expensive big screen television, smart TV or whatever. So a little dangerous. So things, tend to wear out pretty quickly. Today's newspaper. Anybody remember what a newspaper is? You guys ever seen newspapers? You're all old enough.
I used to read newspapers.
Today's newspaper is tomorrow's fish wrap or bird cage lining, right? Or in the corner for the puppy. It's being house trained. So that's the situation, and the liberated soul understands that. He understands all the, the material energy goes through all these phases, and it happens, really happens fairly quickly. It's like the whole universe is created almost like it was 6 days. It's supposed to be a joke. You're supposed to be rolling on the floor.
I had a question I was going to do.
So anyway, these things happen. These things all happen pretty quickly. So the liberated soul, he's not particularly impressed by things, by the different changes or the different aspects. What he sees is these are Krishna's energies. You got one energy here. You got one energy over here. And this energy over here, you got the top and the bottom. And just like people talk about one kind of romantic relationship being better than another. But I remember discussing this with my friend Govinda Dasi, one of Prabhupada's early disciples, maybe 70 or 71. And she said, well, Prabhupada said it's just like wet stool and dry stool. So if you see a dog pile sitting on the sidewalk, after a day or two, the top, it just kind of looks like concrete, and it's not so icky looking. So you think, it's not so bad. But then if you turn it over, it's still wet and it still stinks. Anybody ever read Roald Dahl's The Witches? Or see the film? I just probably saw the film. Anybody read the book?
Absolutely.
Does anybody remember what children smell like to the witches?
Like mice?
No, they don't smell like mice. The children took the form of mice, and the witches were still able to detect their presence because of their distinctive odor, which is that of wood. How do children smell to witches in Roald Dahl's children's novel? You remember? Dog droppings. Not just dog droppings, fresh dog droppings. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. So, so the liberated soul sees, wet stool, dry stool, it's whatever. It's an inferior energy. It's interesting, and this is kind of where I am right now. It's not a big deal. My real identity is over here, under the shelter of the superior energy. So now we're going to get a little contrast. Krishna says to Uddhava, Nakuryan navadik kinchid nadhyayet sadhva sadhuva atma ramo naya vitya vichadejya devan muni. This is for the sake of maintaining his body. A liberated soul does not act, speak, or think in terms of material duality. Why doesn't he eat, speak, or act, speak, or think in terms of material duality?
He didn't see the world like that.
He doesn't see the world like it. He's not interested in it. Doesn't have anything to do with him. Considering something to be good and something to be bad. Rather, he's detached in all circumstances, taking pleasure in atmanam, self-realization. He's self-satisfied. He's not crazy. He's not going nuts, trying to make sure that he gets every fruit on the tree before somebody else comes, or they get rotten or fall to the ground. He's not just like, he's not going berserk sitting there on the branch. Now. He says, he has a little fruit, and then he just sits there, and he's got the other bird sitting there with him, and they're just kind of rooting together. He becomes a witness to everything that's going on in the material world, much like the super soul, because he's made the same, essentially the same substance. Thus, he says, he wanders about in his own mood, appearing like a dullard to outsiders. The translation in the other edition, I think it's the BBT edition, is appearing like a retarded man. Maybe that's something that we should edit, especially since it wasn't translated by our Srila Prabhupada, but by some 30-year-olds back in the 80s. The word that's used is jadavan. Jada means dull, stupid, could be retarded, could be just dumb, like jada potters, right? Same thing. That was his example. He decided, how do you not get entangled? You don't, you don't be, you're not attractive to anybody. Nobody thinks, oh, that guy, this is a guy for our team. We want him. And they cultivate you, all the girls, oh my gosh, he's dreamy. He's got brill cream, little dabble do, he looks so debonair. Or any of that stuff. He looks like a dope. He acts like a dope. I didn't see those movies, but how many women are attracted to Dumb and Dumberer? I don't know. I can't imagine. But that would be a big draw for the ladies, and they certainly weren't for the big corporate recruiters. I would guess. They kind of stumble through life, like the Three Stooges or something. So what he exhibits is Jadavan, this. He has the quality of being stupid, dumb, dull, an idiot, right? Actually, idiot, moron used to be technical terms in psychology in terms of measuring IQ or something like that. And I think below 70 is like a moron or something. Now it's just what you call your buddy. Or the person on Facebook who doesn't agree with you about which team should win the World Series or whatever. What's coming up? All-Star game is coming up, right? Did we miss it? I don't know. I hope so. I'll put that as I'll give myself a star. We're having, I think it's like around the 4th of July or something like that, the All-Star baseball game. It's baseball. It's an American pastime. So he just, Jadabara just figured, okay, groovy. So I'll just be dumb. He got drafted into carrying the king's palanquin, but he got fired from that because he couldn't do that right. Of course, the problem was. He didn't want to step on these ants, so the king got the bumpy right. And then, when the king, anybody remember the king's name?
venture a guess that it's Mriga.
It's a different king, different pastime, interesting pastime.
King Vina?
King Vina, that would be, now the King Vina, that would be Narada Muni's Vina, right? That would be the King Vina.
Yes.
Rahugana. So then, when Rahugana went to take Jagabhat to task, he found out, when God actually opened his mouth, he found out, well, this is not just some dope. It's not just some homeless guy, from the street. This is the great sage. So they got a direct picture of it. So the liberated soul doesn't engage in these things. And then he says, Krishna says, Shabda Brahmani Nishnato Nanishnaya Orejari Shramastasya Shramapala Yadhenum Eva Rakshitaha Shrama Eva Kevalam. Right?
So much useless effort.
Just wasted time, right? So he says, if after thoroughly studying the Vedic literatures, one makes no endeavor to fix his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shabda Brahmani Nishnato, so much immersion in Shabda Brahma, in spiritual sound, and studying the scriptures, Na Nishnaya Pare. Pare means, the Acharyas explain, that means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shabde Parecha Nishnata. The symptoms of the Guru given earlier in the 11th canto. He says, Shramastasya Shramapala. Shramastasya. So all that trouble that he takes, that's the fruit of his endeavor. You go through all this work, and but if it's somehow or other it doesn't move you to fix your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the only reward you get out of it is the trouble you've taken to do it. Then his endeavors like that of a man who works very hard to take care of a cow that gives no milk. In other words, the fruit of one's laborious study of Vedic knowledge is nothing more than the labor itself. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he says that about the impersonalists, right? He says, it's really hard for an embodied soul to immerse himself in impersonal Brahman. He says, frankly, all they get is the trouble they take to figure it out. That's their only really reward. Only real reward. Dukkha, just misery. So, and then he extends the metaphor a little bit. He says, my dear, Agam dugdha doham masatim chabharyam deham paradhinam asaprajamcha pitang tvar tirti kritamanga vacham hinam maya rakshati dhuk. Oh boy, get the lines broken. Pitang tvar tirti kritam anga vacham hinam maya rakshati dhuk. Just more misery. What kind of misery? Is that person certainly the most miserable who maintains a cow who gives no milk, an unchaste wife, a body that's completely dependent on others, useless children, and wealth that's not properly utilized. It's not used for a good purpose. Similarly, one who makes study of the Vedic literature that's devoid of my glories, certainly most miserable. So even studying the scriptures doesn't necessarily make us liberated. Depends on. Anybody guess?
Our intentions.
Honestly, good guidance.
Oh,
Good guidance.
yeah, it depends on association. I mean, there are people who study the scriptures, in the in the ashrams of the followers of Shankaracharya. But all they get is trouble. They don't get any real benefit. And that's actually the situation in the material world. Remember, we're starting with the premise that we've rejected all kinds of material endeavor, even up to and including liberation. That's cheating kinds of religion, so-called religion. And none of them gives any reward other than the trouble we take to try to attain them. Karma conduct. You can certainly get stuff if you follow the formulas of karma conduct. You follow the formulas that are given in the Dharma Shastras. You can become gradually elevated lifetime after lifetime, and become a Brahmana and become eligible to attain liberation after goodness knows how many lifetimes. And within a particular lifetime, you can perform a particular kind of ritual and get a good wife or husband. You can perform a particular type of ritual or some kind of penance and become free from some of the reactions for some of the bad things you've done. Or at least feel free, just like with the Roman Catholics, they have their confession. It's sort of unburdening yourself. You've done these horrible things, you got to tell someone about it. Kind of unburden yourself. And the priest tells you to chant some Our Fathers and Hail Marys, and then you're good to go. You're good to come back tomorrow and take communion. Never mind, you went to confession Saturday morning and you've got a whole 24 hours before you take communion. Do all kinds of things in that time. But even the rituals, the Vedic rituals, if you can get those rewards, but you can only get them if you perform them perfectly. Same thing with any kind of material process. Let's say I decide, when I'm a kid, I decide I want to be a Supreme Court justice when I grow up. What do I have to do? I have to study hard.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah, pretty much stay out of trouble. I remember at one point I was planning to be a lawyer, and after I dropped out of college, I got a job at a roofing company. It's a non-union roofing company, kind of a rough roofing company. I don't think there were very many employees who had high school diplomas. Most of them hadn't gone beyond the 6th grade. Most of them were ex-cons. A couple of people I worked with were escaped cons. It's a really, really interesting crew. But they gave me a job. And so I made some money for a while. And we were coming back from a job one day. This was in the winter that I was working there. Virginia Roofing Company. I remember that one. It's almost 50 years ago. And so because it was winter, January or February, we were all in the cab of the truck, 4 of us on the crew, all crammed in the cab of the truck. And they called me Shorty. And they gave me a hard time because I had been to college. So I didn't college. And so the guy who was driving the truck one day said, "Hey, Shorty, you got a car? What kind of car you got?" And the other guy just says, got him a Mercedes Benz. I drove him sometimes, not every day, but sometimes I drove my 55 Hillman Jeep to work, but sometimes I drove my dad's Mercedes Benz to work. That was roofing company. So the one guy said, "Yeah, I got him one of them Mercedes Benz." And he says, "Oh, that got a big trunk." I said, "Yeah, Mercedes have a pretty big trunk." He says, "Oh, you want to make $500 in one day?" And I just thought, "Oh." So that it was they had some house in Maryland across the river staked out, and they knew that the people were going to be away on a particular weekend, and they wanted me to go over there with them. They were going to load stuff in the trunk, and we were going to come back to Virginia. There were fence and stuff, and I'd get $500 for a day's driving. And I said, "I don't think so. I'm still planning on being a lawyer, and I don't think if a federal conviction for interstate transport of stolen goods would help me get past the bar association." So I have to stay out of trouble. I got to get good grades all through school. I got to do all the extracurricular stuff. You know, you got to join the key club and the student council officer and all those silly things, so that I can get into a good school. Because people who graduate from like, you know, Podunk U Law School, you know, in Waukee, Kansas, or something like that, they're not the people who are going to the Supreme Court. Not Harvard, Yale, Georgetown, someplace like that. So, you know, so I have to go to a good college, and then I have to get into a good law school, and then, you know, I got to play the game right. I got to do all the political stuff and make all the right political connections along the way, and promote myself like crazy. And then eventually I may get, you know, an appointment to this or an appointment to that, or elected to this, or so, and become noticed, and everybody says, well, he's one of us. So, you know, when another one of us gets into the White House, then, you know, we'll and it's you know, he has a chance to nominate someone for the Supreme Court of the United States. We'll suggest Bill, because he's a good guy. He's one of us. He's really smart. You know, he'll write it's just the right way. It's not going to, you're not going to be full of barble and pure applesauce and stuff. So, or what was the other thing? I had my dad always wanted me to go to the Naval Academy in Annapolis. You got to do, you know, you got to do certain things. You know, I thought, well, if I'm going to be a naval officer, why mess around? Maybe I'll be the chief of naval operations, get the biggest job in the Navy. You know? So, same thing. You got to get good grades. You got to hook up with some member of Congress or somebody who has the power to appoint candidates to the Naval Academy. Got to get good grades. Got to be athletic. Back in those days, they were looking for this whole man philosophy. No tattoos. They didn't let people who had tattoos back. I had to do all this stuff, and then I had to put up with all their stuff they've got for 4 years. Oh, and get good grades and everything like that, and play the game right, and then play the game right the whole time I'm in the Navy. You know, like for 25, 30 years, you just got to be a good politician, and then eventually, you know, I could be. So if you make a wrong step anywhere along the way, or something just doesn't work out, you've gone to all this trouble. Gone to Yale University, joined Skull and Bones so that you get connections with all these powerful, rich people, you know, and then went to Harvard Law School or something like that. You know, got hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt and all the stuff that happens. And, you know, but if somewhere along the way I decide, well, my integrity is a lot more important than being a team player, then there goes my appointment to the Supreme Court. So all material endeavors are really like that. You know, you're always judging what's good and bad, and especially what's how do I angle to make, you know, to gain the greatest advantage over others. Because these are zero-sum games. If I get appointed to the Supreme Court, that means that Conaram doesn't, and Mayapur doesn't. You know, you know, there's only one Supreme Court opening, you know, for most presidents, if that. And, you know, maybe they get a couple. Say the next one might get 3, but, you know, if one person gets appointed, then that means like 150 other people didn't get nominated to the court. So it's a zero. You know, it really is. It's a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose. So, you know, if you do anything, you know, if you make a misstep along the way, then, you know, say you study, you know, you go to law school and, you know, you study for the bar exam, and then the day of the bar exam you forget. You know, you look at you go on the computer and you look at the surf report. And, oh my God, it's like 68 feet, light offshore wind. I'm going to such and such a point. I'm just going to rip it up all day, and then you get home and you realize, you look at your calendar. today was the first day of the bar exam. So you make, a mistake along the way, and you've gone to all this trouble, and that's your fruit. That's your reward. So the liberated soul doesn't act like that. He's not impressed by those things. He could even play that game. He could do it, or she. Because they don't necessarily have to act intelligence. It's just an easy way to avoid a lot of trouble. Because you think it's fun being president of the United States. Take a look at the last 3 presidents. They're all pretty young guys when they went into office. When Bill Clinton came out, his hair was white. 8 years, his hair went from starting to gray to white. George Bush, lines in his face, and his hair is a lot grayer. And President Obama, same thing. The guy was what, early 50s when he was first inaugurated. Now he's got all this gray hair, he got all these lines in his face, and he cannot wait for it to be. Guarantee you. It's like people with noted, they think they get elected, and then after they get elected, they start having these transition meetings, and they give them that super heavy security clearance, and they get to see all this NSA stuff, and they're probably immediately thinking, oh, what did I just step in? But you're stuck, unless you can take a heart attack or something. So this is our situation in the material world. That even if we go for something, and then, so let's say I play the game right, and I get nominated to the Supreme Court, or I get some big position in a corporation, and maybe I own some big company. And it seems to be working out. Well, guess what? If it's not my company, and if it's not a bank I owned, some idiots start messing around back in the mid-2000s, and the whole economy falls apart. And my company could completely fall. My big company could completely fall, and I'd be ruined. It's like they had that stock market crash in 1929, and there were people who lost so much money and who were so distressed by that. They were throwing themselves out of their office windows because they couldn't bear it. But the liberated soul, they're not. These aren't their goals, and if they attain them, that's cool. We could use that in service, and if they don't, that's cool too. They're not disturbed by those things. They're not even disturbed by feelings. So we're starting to see something of a contrast between the conditioned soul and the liberated soul. Liberated soul looks like not very many people we meet. Conditioned soul, do we have to have them described to us in detail? Bump into them every day, bump into them every day, even when we go into the bathroom, bump into the door jamb of the bathroom. There's a conditioned soul. We're immersed in these dualities and the miseries that accompany it. So we're kind of forced to confront the Buddha's first noble truth. Life in this world means suffering. Everybody's suffering, even Donald Trump. He might tell you how rich he is, and he might tell you how many women love him, and all that kind of stuff. But gee, look at the guy's face. The guy's hair. It's hard to figure out how people are fooled by that. When they actually do it themselves. It's like these politicians in their comb overs. They've got a part, just below their ear, and they comb all this hair over, and all of a sudden the wind catches it. It's like a sail, it's going to knock them over or something. These people are not happy. I've used the example of Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes, he was rich, powerful, handsome. All the women, all the best looking women, all the most beautiful movie stars in the world worked for him. So he had, how might we put it delicately, access to them as he liked. But when he was old, all he could think about was some woman or some germ, or just the Grim Reaper himself going to come along and take that money away from him. The guy was miserable. He was nuts, paranoid, insane, bonkers. I remember reading a profile of him in maybe Esquire magazine or something, sometime in the 80s maybe. And the guy was a miserable excuse for him. Not the same guy that you saw in those adventurous pictures of the 30s and 40s with the leather pilot's helmet and the trimmed mustache and the movie stars falling off. It's not, that stuff doesn't last. We've all seen the Changing Bodies exhibit. I'll show you Changing Bodies exhibit. I'll show you some pictures of me when I was younger. I wasn't Robert Redford, but I wasn't bad looking. And then we get old, and it fades fast all of a sudden. I got away for many years. For many years, I looked a lot younger than I was. Now, not so much. So that's our situation. I remember even when I was maybe early 30s, visiting my father, and he had a picture. So here I was in my early 30s, maybe only 15 years after I graduated from high school. There's a picture, my senior picture on one of his shelves in his study. And I actually did a triple take as I walked past the picture. But it was, oh, whoa, because it looked rather different from what I saw in the mirror. And I actually picked up the picture, went into the bathroom, and held it up next to me and looked in the mirror. And I remember shaking my head, thinking, I'm not even 35 years old. What's going on here? So that's our story. So, Dukalaya, it's all miserable. But even if you strike it rich, even if you get to be Howard Hughes, or Barack Obama, or Donald Trump, or whoever, guess what? Hashash. Can't keep it. Now how you like it, that's what I'm supposed to say. And the better it is, the harder it is. What does they say? The bigger they come, the harder they fall. The better it is, the harder it is to lose it. It's tough. And it's slipping away day by day. Everything. So that's conditioned life. We're always grasping, and every time some fruit presents itself, got to have it. Just like when the plums come out. I learned my lesson the other night. Plums come out, and whatever's happening stops. Make sure I don't miss miss the chance to enjoy a couple of those plums. That's our situation, And then if somebody beats us to them, then we're miserable. We're all kinds of miserable because we're beating up on ourselves for having been so foolish, for having missed our chance to enjoy, not being competitive enough. But not only do the devotees of the Lord not strive to compete with each other for the resources of material nature, instead, they strive to create a competition-less society with God at the center. Completely different thing. It's kind of a revolutionary idea, I think, presented. What we have now is people follow, politicians especially leading people to follow philosophies like Ayn Rand's, which is just it's a demoniac philosophy, sociopathic. Most people would call it sociopathic philosophy, selfishness. It's all about me. Go for all. We only go around this life once, so you might as well go for all the gusto you can get. It's like in a beer commercial. What kind of life is that? Liberated soul is not impressed by these things. Oh, okay. So if a lot of money comes, cool. There's something we can build a big temple. We can print a lot of books. We can really develop good infrastructure in our communities to make them nice places for people to culture their spiritual life. Money doesn't come. We have our bhajan. But we do it in a cave under a tree. Six Goswamis built huge temples. But they're famous for living under a different tree every night. Raghunath Das Goswami lived by Radhakund with no shelter whatsoever. And then when this girl came and offered him shelter, he accepted it out of, he didn't, he wanted to give her a chance to do some kind of service, even if it's indirect. And then he heard someone told him, you know what you know who that is. Who's coming and holding a cloth over you every day. Radhika. Oh, yikes. I'm accepting the service from her. So, but they had, they were able to create these facilities for others. Big temples for worshiping the Lord, to attract other people, give other people facility to do service. They weren't attached to it themselves. Sanatana Goswami living under a tree, keeping Radha Madan Mohan in a basket. Chapatis without even salt. Never mind, no Ayurvedic ghee. Not even any salt. Like some kosher food or something. Down the lines of the world. Why can't I? There's no flavor. It's just dry bread. What's that about? Oh, you need salt. You're kind of a powerful guy. If you really need salt, I'm just a poor man. I don't know what I can do to get salt. Make the arrangements yourself. So we did. And so we're having Madan Mohan temple and salt on chapatis. Okay, anybody have anything to add? Any questions? Or you were meditating on a question?
I don't remember. Not that good of a question. Or maybe I answered it myself and I forgot how it was.
I wanted to ask the other night, and you brought it up again tonight, so I'll take advantage of that. And you talked about how these four things which the world is consumed in desiring: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. I wanted to ask how those remain in the life of people like us who are trying to be practitioners. Where do those desires, how are those things manifest in our lives, and how can we at least recognize them?
Well, we recognize them by understanding what they mean. Dharma means a life of virtue, being recognized for our virtue. Right? Artha means getting desirable things. Essentially, it means wealth. To the extent that we have some desire for things that aren't absolutely necessary for our bhajan, and that's a desire for artha. Kama means pleasure, sense gratification. So, to the extent we just have to be introspective to see to what extent am I engaged in making arrangements to gratify my different set of senses. and moksha. To what extent am I looking for just a kind of escape from life's miseries? Because that's still about me. All those things come, even liberation comes as, I think it's Krishna Karnamrita, Mangala Thakur, says he sees even liberation, when we attain bhakti, even liberation stands behind her, her hands folded as a minister. So anything that's not a desire for increased bhakti is probably going to be one of these kinds of desires to some extent or another. Do I want to be, do I want to just be a good person and have a reputation for being a good person, being a religious person, being a big devotee? Do I want some position in society of devotees? Do I want a more comfortable life than I have? And sometimes I just say, get me out of here. Because sometimes, like some people have said, sometimes like a Zen realization is something like it's like a cheap heroin high. It's just like, okay, cool. It's not that there's no suffering, it's just that you're not particularly aware of it. And actually, it's that kind of like God-sized hole or God-shaped hole in our heart that we're trying to fill that has us, like there's people in that Sam Shepard play I've talked about, it's the Curse of the Starving People. They go open the refrigerator and they just kind of stand in front of the open refrigerator, just looking at the refrigerator. Kind of emptiness. And that's actually the root of addiction. People have done experiments that have shown that it's not the availability of the drug that causes addiction. It's the lack of availability of fulfillment, of a fulfilling life. Love, engagement, meaningful engagement with the world. They've done this with this. They take, because they say, you take a rat, you put him in a cage, you put two bottles. One's just water and one's water with cocaine. And you see the rat takes the water. Okay, that's good. Takes the water with the cocaine. Whoa! I don't know what cocaine does to you, so I've never even seen it. But they're going to go back. They say they're going to go back for the cocaine. But if you make him, like what they call a rat park, with all the rat toys and rat buddies to hang out with and stuff like that, you put the bottle with the water and the bottle with the cocaine, and the rat's going to be in and drinking the regular water because it tastes better than the cocaine. And it doesn't mess up his enjoyment of the other stuff, of the cocaine. It's like you see, people go to the hospital, they get surgery, and they're given opiates to deal with the pain of the surgery, have organs removed or repaired or whatever. And and then they get off the drugs. Almost everybody does. If you don't have any life other than a television set or something like that, then maybe you don't. But it's that, so if we're seeking our fulfillment in something other than service, then we're probably looking in some form for Dharma, Artha, Kama, or Moksha. Liberated soul is not, and doesn't see, the material world is a place to get out of. No, it's a place to serve. Here I am, do some service. One day I'm living in Hawaii, do some service. Then I'm in California, do some service. Then I'm in North Carolina, do some service. Who knows? Maybe what's next? Some places, as far as Poland, do some service.
I go with you.
Yeah, well, it says it's going to send me in the winter sometime.
No, not this time.
Yeah, right. Well, not this time. This time's not the winter. Anything else? Does that help?
Mhm.
Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam.
Jai. Ashram Maharaj.
Jai.
I think of a long